I'm shipwrecked on an island, and I don't think I want to leave, so I'm gonna do our video from here today. What we did is we put together a compilation of some of the most valuable moments from our past videos on everything you need to know about B2B sales. This should become your go-to resource and your checklist for scaling your revenue and sales teams. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It keeps my bosses happy, and honestly, if they're happy, I get to do stuff like this, and so therefore I'm happy.
So if you came in and saw our sales training program, it was about a month. It was a long time. Most of it was just walking in the buyer's shoes. Like we took these sellers that were coming out of like finance, insurance, radio sales, some of our best sellers. They weren't even from software. The first thing they did was started a blog. We literally had them come up with their own idea for a blog or a little business. I remember one of the salespeople had chinchillas. Beautiful. So she had to go out and she had to write a handful of articles during that first month. She had to do 15 or 20 posts. She had to set up a landing page. She like walked in the buyer's shoes. Because at that time, and you have to remember, like most people weren't blogging. And we were trying to convince these small business owners who were like landscapers or plumbers to start a blog. That was scary. And so when they got on their first call with a buyer and they were like, oh my gosh, like I really buy into what you're saying, but like, what do I write about? And what if it's bad? And the salesperson was like, I just went through that. I experienced every single piece of those issues, and they can empathize it and sell it more, through that connection. I'm gonna bring out a story about a buddy, and his territory was 2 companies. Yeah, that's your territory. It wasn't Target, but I'm gonna give you, it was like a Target, okay? So he's got Target, and they're an Oracle shop. And his job over the next year is to convert them to Salesforce. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna call them for 2 months. I'm like, what? You're not gonna call them for 2 months? And he's like, no. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I shop at Target all day. Like I go online and buy stuff. I take screenshots of all the emails they send me. And over the course of that 2 months, he built a 30-page diagnosis of their marketing strategy. And he mailed it. He printed out 25 copies and mailed it to every single digital marketing executive at Target. Within 3 days, he had to sit down with all of them.
Sales is fundamentally changing. AI adoption is separating winners from losers, and the teams that adapt fastest are thriving, while the others are worried about market turbulence. HubSpot's 2025 sales trends presented by the Science of Scaling gives an inside look at how 1,000 sales pros are adapting, growing, and connecting in a shifting business landscape. This isn't just a collection of statistics, it's your guide to what's actually working in the field today. So grab it, read it, start putting it to work immediately. Link is in the description.
I've gotten to know this gentleman, John McNeil. John was introduced to Elon Musk through Sheryl Sandberg. Elon Musk was, it was years ago. They were just struggling to hit the Tesla quarterly numbers from a sales standpoint. And John was like, well, I don't know. Let me take some time to figure this out. And do you have any, data on your sales funnel? And Elon was like, what's a sales funnel? I'm going to tell a story about the early HubSpot days. I think it was like my 8th hire, and I'd actually been courting this person for some time, and they were the #1 salesperson at an 800-person sales team. We had maybe like 20, 25 people at the company, and I convinced this person to come. 6 months later, they're middle of the road. How is that possible? That this person had like year after year after year been near the top, if not the top in certain years, out of a large team. And they come to our rinky-dink little startup where we don't really feel like we know what we're doing, and they're middle of the road. And then as I reflected on that question, I kind of started to think about the context from which they came. They came from a business that was 20 years old. They came from an industry that was 40 years old. When they called up a customer or a prospect and said, I'm so-and-so from this company, they knew what was company. They knew what the company did. They knew what the industry did. This business is running Super Bowl ads. Versus compare that to our context at that time, year 1 or 2, where it's like, hey, I'm calling from HubSpot. Who is HubSpot? Oh, we sell inbound marketing software. What is inbound marketing? I mean, it was a totally different sale. And so that's the issue with effective selling is there is no universal amazing salesperson. There's just an optimal salesperson for your context. The optimal person to sell a suit versus a jet versus a piece of software, they're going to be very different people. So this is actually a really cool story because I was throwing a limited partner meeting for Stage 2 Capital a year ago. I had the Q&A keynote speaker with a gentleman, David Schmeier, that had just sold his company to Salesforce and was the chief product officer. And he's one of the early co-founders of Siebel. So yeah, what better person to speak to about this? Now, we had some conversations preparing for it. And the conversation was something like this, if we rewind the clock to like the mid-90s in Siebel. It's like, okay, everyone, we're crushing it. We're the market leader, this new CRM category. Things are going great. And someone was just like, hey, there's this internet thing that Al Gore invented 40 years ago that like we probably should pay attention to. Let's have a strategy. So someone's like, okay, like let's hire a consulting company and they can evaluate for us. And the consulting company comes back and says, all right, we just did the evaluation. It's going to cost you like $500 million to rebuild the product on the cloud. Big expense. Number two, we just interviewed like 1,000 CTOs and none of them said they would ever put their data in the cloud. It's just not secure. So why would you spend $500 million to go after a very small opportunity? Now then Mark Benioff quits Oracle, starts Salesforce. Where does he start off? Not with the big CTOs and big companies, very small businesses that want a competitive edge. And like, yeah, I'll do this. Wow, I don't have to buy Siebel. I don't have to do any installation. I don't have to own any servers. I can pay you like $5,000 a year and have a CRM. Great. And then all of a sudden, like some big company tries it and they save a ton of money and it works. And now they start getting a competitive edge. Now all the other big companies and all those CTOs were wrong. They actually, AWS comes around, and turns out the data is actually secure in the cloud, and they can take advantage of all the advantages of that architecture, of the pricing, and of the distribution. I bet even if Siebel knew the right answer, it, like we took a time machine back to 1995 and said, guys, folks, this is what's going to happen. I don't even know if they could capture it. We pick it apart in class, right? And then we challenge them on how often they should reach out and how. Like, do you call them? Do you email them? Do you send LinkedIn notes? Like, we have that whole discussion. So this is the favorite part. We teach them how to do a cold call and connect. And then at the last 15 minutes of class, Sam's team hands out scripts and call lists of local businesses. And the students cold call local businesses and try to sell them a $20 pizza. In class. We did it yesterday. The first class sold 5 pizzas and the second class sold 6 pizzas. Now remember, there's 90 students in the class and they're calling for 15 minutes. I would say there's over 1,000 calls that happen. The pursuit of product market fit is around predictably creating customer success, predictably creating customer retention. Our North Star is not $1 million in revenue. Our North Star is not 50 customers. Our North Star is 20 very healthy customers. So what is the sales compensation? So many startups at this stage. I've got 4 engineers, a product manager, a designer, and 1 salesperson. They're like, oh, what should the compensation plan? I heard Workday compensates their rep $150,000 a year, $75,000 commission, $75,000 base, and the commission is based on revenue.
I want to be $1 million rep.
I want to be $1 million rep. And that's what like most founders will use at this like pursuit of product market fit stage. Completely misaligned. You're compensating your salesperson to just get as many customers, as much revenue as possible. Go get a ton of customers. Charge as much as you can. We need successful customers. And to be honest with you, like maximizing profit on that customer isn't really a core objective right now. We need those folks to be successful. So the behavior that we need from our salespeople is go find perfect fit customers for us for the product that we're building today. Go find early adopter customers that are going to be tolerant with us as we're figuring out the product. Go find customers that are going to be motivated to use our product and create a very successful case study. That's what we need to motivate. The founders wakes up in Q4 and like, okay, great year, everyone. We got to 3 million. Now we got to get to 9. And they do the math on their ICP and it only gets them to 7. So here's what they do. Like, I have an idea. Let's go to Europe. Or I have an idea. Let's go upstream. They've never sold anyone in Europe. They've never sold anyone upstream. But they commit to the board and say, okay, we're going to scale to 7 million through ICP, and we're going to launch our European office, and we're going to get 2 million in revenue next year from that, even though we've never sold a deal in Europe.
Oh, that opportunity though, it sounds great.
Doesn't it, right? And the problem is they didn't experiment with new expansion in advance. No, we've learned from the lean startup and like these concepts of product market fit that like we have to go through these sequences and you have to repeat that same process when you look to expansion into the next market. Okay, so as we're scaling from 0 to 1, from 1 to 3, from 3 to 9 in our defined ICP, that's a multi-year journey. And that gives us time to run experiments in the potential expansions. Okay, so directionally, we're probably investing 90% of our resources, salespeople, marketing spend, et cetera, building product into the known ICP that we're scaling. And we might be reserving 10% of our resources to run experiments for expansion. So maybe we put a rep or two in Europe a year or two before we need them to go through product market fit, go to market fit, and hopefully get them into growth. I often draw analogs between sales and being a doctor to help bring some of these mindsets to life. Now, your doctor's in the office with you. They're diagnosing something and you're very resistant to it. Are they going to like solve for their relationship and friendship with you? Or are they going to give you the hard advice and be like, dude, this is what you have. You got to wake up and listen to me.
Leave us comments. Let us know what other kind of content you want to see, or if you think you can guess where I am right now. That does it for me. And in the words of a Mark Roberge, happy scaling.